Hi guys, welcome to this video. I'm Prashant, I'm the founder of Word Pandit, and I'm bringing this series of videos to you wherein I explain previous year CAT questions. Here we've got a paragraph summary question. You can pause this video, solve this question, and then go through this video explanation. Let's get started with this question. The first step for a paragraph summary question is to understand the para itself, and that's exactly what we will do. Let's get started with this particular paragraph. Remember, this is a complicated paragraph and the answer options are also a little complicated, right? We'll understand why is this the case. The conceptualization of landscape, so the way you conceptualize landscapes as a geometric object. So you begin to see landscapes as geometric objects. So you don't see, say for example, you don't see the hills as hills itself, but you see the geometry behind them. First occurred in Europe and is historically related to the European conceptualization of the organism. So there is a relation. Remember, it says related, not caused by. So that's something you've got to remember. So the conceptualization of landscapes as geometrical objects is related to the conceptualization of the organisms, particularly the human body, as a geometric object with parts having a rational three-dimensional organization and integration. So what is he equating the conceptualization of landscapes with? He's relating the conceptualization of landscapes with the conceptualization of the organism, particularly the human body, which further has parts to it, for example, with parts having a rational three-dimensional organization and integration. The European idea of the landscape appeared before the science of landscape emerged. So the idea of the landscape emerged before the science, so the science followed the idea, and it is no coincidence that Renaissance artists such as Leonardo da Vinci, who studied the structure of the human body, also facilitated an understanding of structure of the landscape. Landscape, which had been a subordinate background to religious or historical narratives, became an independent genre or art by the end of the 16th century or the beginning of the 17th century, right? So at the end of the 16th century or the beginning of the 17th century, it became an independent genre. So if you go through the whole paragraph, you realize that what is the author saying? The author is saying that the conceptualization of landscape as a geometric object, it happened in Europe. It is connected to conceptualization of the organism, particularly the human body. This was developed during the Renaissance time period. So this is the first thing, this is the third thing, this is the second thing, this is the third thing. Then he also talks about the fact that it had been subordinate background to religious or historical narratives, but it became an independent genre or subject by the end of the 16th century or at the beginning of the 17th century. So four major broad points in the paragraph which have been highlighted by the author of the passage. Now let us look at the answer options. Landscape became a major subject of art at the turn of the 16th century. At the turn of the 16th century is going to refer to the start of the 16th century. When the 16th century started does not fit. This is factually incorrect, right? Now options D, C and D. We study option number D first. The Renaissance artists were responsible for the study of landscape as a subject of art. Now option number D, you've got to be really careful. The option says Renaissance artists were responsible for the study of landscape as a subject of art, but whereas our passage says it is no coincidence that Renaissance artists such as this also facilitated an understanding. So the passage is implying also facilitated. That means they were contributors to it. Option number D says they were responsible for it. So there is a huge change, right? This places the onus of responsibility on Renaissance artists, which is not done in the passage. The passage just identifies them as contributors. Hence, option number D is also ruled out, leaves us with two answer options. Option number B, the three-dimensional understanding of the organism in Europe led to a similar approach towards the understanding of landscape. Now there are a couple of things which have happened in this particular answer option. One, there has been a causation implied, right? That the understanding of the organism led to a similar approach towards understanding of the landscape, right? The paragraph states they are historically related. It relates the two things, does not really imply a direct causation, right? It just relates the two things. On the other hand, this option implies a causation. Secondly, the paragraph, and more importantly, implies that it's historically related to the European conceptualization of the organism, particularly the human body. So it's related to what? The conceptualization of the organism, the human body. This answer option says the three-dimensional understanding of the organism. Now this is the correlation has not only been done with the three-dimensional understanding of the organism, it's been done with the conceptualization of the organism as a geometric object. So this completely changes the sentiment implied by the author, right? In the original paragraph there is a huge change, huge shift. Hence option number B is also ruled out on account of factual inaccuracy. That leaves us only with option number C here. The study of landscape as an independent genre was aided by Renaissance artists. Now the thing is, option number C does not violate the passage. It 100% agrees factually with the passage. It is derived from the paragraph itself. Does it cover all the 4 points that we had initially identified? Unfortunately, it does not cover all the 4 points. It's not a complete summary for the passage, it's a partial summary. But our problem here is 3 answer options are incorrect, 1 is partially correct. So which is the answer option we pick? We pick the answer option which is partially correct in this case. Hence, we are forced to pick option number C here because we are not left with any other choice, and option number C is the correct answer here. This is why this is a slightly dicey question. One of those questions which you should only solve in the exam, you're 100% sure, else it's going to cause you issues. So a question that you have to be careful about. Hopefully so the question is clear to you now. Thank you very much for watching this video, and as always, happy learning.